Eh? Quite close to the mic. Evening, everybody. It's a great pleasure to be here. This project at Bath that started for me in a service station at the end of 2009, having a discussion with Barry Scolo, led to, I am 100% sure, the best work of my life, which was the first few years as head coach here. It was amazing, and I'm just very proud to have been involved with this program and to continue to be involved. Those of you who've heard before, and I've said it for nearly 15 years, and I've been in tennis all my life and coached on tour for 35 years. This is the best academy in the world. We might not have all the facilities that a Nadal's has or Motoglu, but I can tell you this, that this is genuinely a place where players can feel part of a family. And whilst many academies say that they have a holistic approach, I know for a fact, having been to so many of them, that this is a place where it truly is a living thing. I think the kids deserve this place because they're great kids, and this place is very special, and I'm sure all of you who've played here will one day remember it very fondly. This is a fantastic evening, and the only thing I'll say is that I'm a little jealous because it's something that in all my time here we never thought of doing. So well done, Jordan. And secondly, this is for the parents and your connections, because this academy is £20,000 short of going very quickly to another level. And so if somehow that kind of sponsorship could come in, and I really think that one of the things Academy's got to get a little better at is telling the story of what happens here, because it really is an academy that ought to be able to raise that kind of money. But if anybody does have connections that could maybe be introduced, it would make a difference, because for that kind of money and what the university here would put towards it would bring another traveling coach to the academy. And I think with that, it goes to another level. This is the impromptu part. Jordan, how long did you ask me long ago to do this? About a month? Yeah, so I got running for a month so that I could lose some weight for this. Hey? Yeah, you didn't do as good a job. So, before I start this talk, it's not going to be quite as good as Roger Federer, because he only won 54% of his points, and I think in my tennis career I probably won 49% of mine, so this will be 5% worse than Roger. But I will give it a go to maybe make it 4% worse. So here we go. So before we begin, let's take a moment to reflect on the choice that you've made, players, which is to play tennis. 100% you've probably chosen the toughest sport on the planet. It's very, very difficult. And it's a sport where losing every week is the norm. And you sweat, train, work hard, and that's just expected. And that, for the most part, is your biggest reward, just to work hard. And obviously, hopefully, enjoy doing the work. So what I say to you players is well done for choosing the hardest sport on the planet. But tennis is more than just a sport because it teaches time management, communication, discipline, character, resilience. Unless you're a parent, then it mainly teaches selective memory and wild optimism after one good win. So it's very easy as a parent to become delusional and then to be smacked down very hard and become very despondent. Imagine how it feels being the player. So what I could say to the parents is this, is try and keep level-headed. It's a long journey of a few highs and loads of lows. But it depends how you look at it, because out of the lows come the highs. And it's never as bad as you think, and it's rarely as good as you think. So if you can just take that on board. The players have chosen an adventure over an easy life, because if they're going to be any good, they're going to have to be dedicated to the sport. So there are Friday nights and Saturday nights when their friends are going to parties and doing what people do, and they can't do it. But is that a sacrifice or is that a blessing? I think long term, it's a blessing. And I've been through it, and I can honestly say that tennis has been the catalyst for everything pretty good that's happened in my life. And of course, until I understood it properly, some disappointments that I felt too deeply than they needed to have been felt. Because I didn't understand then that it's mostly lows in terms of results with some highs. And you've got to be able to deal with the lows. It tests patience and your pain threshold, for sure. But it does build character, because it teaches you this simple trick of the brain, if you can take this in. When you've been watching Wimbledon and they bring up John McEnroe and Tracy Austin and all of these champions and Andy Murray, they never talk about the low moments. 6 Grand Slam winner, 3 gold medals, not 2 gold medals. They never put up there, yeah, but how did it feel when you lost Wimbledon? They just give the highlights. And parents, often at a dinner party, will be very proud of their kids. And what do they talk about? They don't talk about the low moments when the kid was crying and didn't want to go back to Bath and practice the next week because they're so disappointed. You give all the highlights of what your kid has done, which is understandable and good to do. But here's the strange thing. Players, when they're playing matches, only focus on the lowlights, the things that are going wrong. And that's a shame, because there are so few highlights anyway that it's very important to just enjoy the game and not get so down on yourself for missing balls, because Roger Federer only won 54% of his points. So you're going to lose a lot of points. And until you come to terms with accepting that, tennis is more of a struggle than it needs to be. So I'm going to focus here on some success stories that have come out of Bath. And all of these players had very inauspicious starts. They were not great juniors. They started their pro careers friggin' terribly. And some of them, like Marcus, was mentally extremely weak. I'll give you an example. The first email I got off him from Malaysia, I think it was, or somewhere in Asia, and he said this: "When I walked on the court, I recognized the umpire, and I know he didn't like me, so I knew I was in trouble. And then one love down, I was serving 30-40, hit a good serve, very good volley into the open court, and the guy hit a running forehand pass that landed on the line. And I knew there and then that it was not my day." That's a 2-love down in the first set. He went on to win a bronze medal at the Olympics, the first tennis medal for New Zealand ever in its history. I remember the first time he played Roland Garros, and he was absolutely, excuse my language, shitting himself. And I said to him, "The thing is, Marcus, why are you so afraid of this if you think you're going to be back here again? Because if you think this is the first and only time you'll be in a Grand Slam, then yes, you should be very afraid. But I'm going to tell you right now, one day at Roland Garros, we'll be sitting and I'll remind you of this moment and say, 5 years ago, you were so afraid of this, and now you walk around like you own the place." And 5 years later, I reminded him of that conversation. And I said, "Look how comfortable you are." So as players, every step up you take in level, it seems scary, but you will get used to it. And when you do, it's no big deal. So people think, oh, walking out on center court at Wimbledon is a huge deal. First time it is. But second time it's not so much, and by third time you're pretty comfortable. Those players, they're nervous to play the match, but they are not afraid of walking out on that court. Yeah. Samantha Murray, she came here overweight after college and not very good. And she said, "I want to be a player, Dave." I said, "Okay, well, there's a lot of work to be done. But I can tell you this, because I knew her from before as a junior, mentally, you're good. And I guarantee you will be top 500 for sure. After that, we will see." And so she started doing the work. But she was very brave, because I remember standing on this balcony here and she was losing to some girl, very poor. And at that time, she only had a slice forehand. And a very prominent coach sidled up to me and he goes, "What are you doing with this girl? She'll never be a player with that forehand." And I said, "You're right, but she won't have that forehand." And I remember soon after that, we had the discussion and I said, "You're going to have to hit the ball." And we went to Japan played 4 tournaments in a row, and she hit the ball all 4 tournaments. And she never won a match. And honestly, the first 2 matches, there was a lot of back fence stuff. It was awful. But she was a great competitor, and she wanted so desperately to slice because she'd have a chance. I said, you need both. You got to keep hitting the ball. And that's where she was very, very brave. And slowly but surely, that forehand came right, and she got her moment on center court. I'm sorry, not center court, court 1, to play Sharapova. Before she played the Sharapova match, I took her out on that court, because she, again, was ridiculously nervous. And I said, walk around, feel the place. And I sat down with her and I said, look, billionaires would pay millions of dollars to be in your position if they love tennis and play on this court for real. Some of them with so much money, I'm sure, could buy an experience from Wimbledon and walk out there with nobody watching and play on that court, but that's not the same thing. And if they really want to spend big money, they could even rent a crowd to pretend like they were playing Wimbledon, but the word is pretend. They will never experience what you're going to experience. You've earned the right to be here. And that is very special and a privilege, and it's a reward for all the hard work. And she started to relax, and she played a decent match. She didn't win, though. Lissy, who you all know, I mean, so many kids will talk about confidence and belief. I think Maka would agree with me, Lissy had almost no belief or confidence when she arrived here. But she had one thing. She liked playing. She competed hard, so she had 2 things. And decided to hang in and hang in. And by hanging in, she represented her country and did it very, very well. And has played all the Grand Slams and is having a good career. She was no mental giant when she arrived. And she had come back from the States because she was here before that, wasn't she? Just hang in and keep playing. You never know what's going to happen. Yeah. Liam Brody made top 100. Now here's something that is important to understand. When I started with Liam in 2014, within 5 months, he had gone from 320 in the world to 150. Meteoric, Fernley stuff. And at that point, at 20 years old, he was the 4th highest ranked player in the world for his age. And I was convinced he was going to qualify for the Australian Open. And he made last round, he beat 2 very good players. And in the last round, he played a guy who coaches Taylor Fritz now, called Mike Russell, who was playing his very, very last Grand Slam. And 6 weeks before that, in Knoxville, Tennessee, Liam had beaten him 3-3, no problem. But Mikey was a seasoned campaigner, and he came with a good game plan. And Liam, because it was qualifying for his first Grand Slam, choked. And he lost. And it affected him so badly that he went off piste for a couple of weeks. Couldn't find him. He had just gone to stay with a friend and get drunk every night. And then he decided that he wanted to keep the money that he had made and left. Only to come back 16 months later at 460 in the world to start again, and came to Bath. If you'd told me in that January, in that last round of qualifiers in Australia, that it would take him 9.5 years or 9 years to make top 100, I would have thought, nah, come on. He's 20 and 150. Surely he's going to do it before that. But it took 9 years. But what people don't realize is it took Claudia Pennetta 18 years to win a Grand Slam. It took Novak Djokovic 11 years from his first French Open to win one. Now, don't think that these people thought, Novak especially after winning a couple of slams, that winning the French would take him that long. But they keep going. They keep going until they get or get very close to what they want. Because not every player gets what they want. Because that's life. Okay? Luke Johnson came from college, similar to Sam, overweight. Definitely, I've got their mush to metal. Mentally, very, very brittle. Now, he's hung in and is very tough. He's so tough that he's still optimistic after slipping at Queen's and breaking his wrist. That meant he was meant to be seeded at Wimbledon. He misses that. He obviously missed out playing Queen's. And this is a lot of money you're talking about. He misses Washington 500. And because him and his partner are 11 in the world, the top 16 teams at half-year stage are guaranteed entry into the 1,000s. So he misses the 1,000 in Toronto and he misses the 1,000 in Cincinnati. He's hoping to be back for the US Open. But he is fine. It's very disappointing. It's awful. But he remains optimistic because it's not what's happened to him that counts. It's what's going to happen in the future that counts. But here is a guy that not many people, like Marcus, would have ever predicted would win a 500 in Barcelona, and he just made the quarterfinals of Paris. It's not magic. Just work hard, enjoy it, and keep going. And you will have your low moments. You will cry. You will have all of these things. But if deep down, this is what you want to do, just keep doing it. But what I will also say is if it's not what you want to do, and you get somewhere along the line and say, actually, I don't want to do what I know I'm going to have to do to get better, there's no shame in stopping. Because already what most of you have achieved is very good. To keep going in the sport, you have to genuinely love it. And that's what I really love about so many of the top players. But some of them really show it. And Alcaraz, I think, is a fantastic example of showing how much he actually enjoys playing. And it's a great example. So I'm going to give you 4 essential rules and ignore them at your peril. The first thing is you're going to hear from your coaches a lot about the things you need to do. Be human, be kind to yourself, and adopt the 80-20 rule. If you're 80% on it and good, you're fine. 20% is being human. 20% is hitting that snooze alarm once in a while. 20% is having a day where you know you're not putting out 100%. It happens, you're human. But it can't start creeping to 30, 40, 50%. You got to keep it at 20, and as you get older and more professional, you can probably move it to 90-10. But trust me, even the best players in the world screw up quite a lot. But what they don't do is throw all of the good work out of the window because they've messed up. They just get back on the horse and go again. So let's break down these rules. Rule number 1, transform negative thoughts. Some examples here. My forehand is rubbish, but when it's loose, it's lethal. So if you miss a ball in a match and you say my forehand is rubbish, immediately correct it with an uptick, the Nike tick. My forehand is rubbish, bottom of the tick, but when I lose, it's lethal. So you're going to the next point feeling just a little better. You want to always try to go into the next point feeling a little better. I hate tie breaks. But I've won them before. None of you have ever lost every single tie break you've ever played in your whole life. You have won. So I can win one again. You're going to feel a little better going into a tie break. Reframing negative thoughts changes everything. So I'm going to tell you a story here about a guy called Rafa Nadal, if you've heard of him. He was quite mentally good. And this Wimbledon, he was 2-1 up and had 2 match points to win Wimbledon, and he lost the set. And then he went on to win it. And a reporter said to him at the end of the match, "How'd you do that? Having had 2 match points, never won Wimbledon before, one hand on the trophy, what were you thinking at the end of that 4th set, having blown it?" And Rafa said, "Are you crazy? Come on. You work your whole life to win Wimbledon, and you only have 1 set left to win? The opportunity was so big. Why would I be disappointed?" How's that for a reframe? Most people are crying, "Oh, I can't believe I had 2 match points. I blew it." And he's looking forward immediately, the uptick, reframe it. Come on, the opportunity is so big. And then he said a little jewel, which will come out later, but the little jewel, you'll understand in a minute, was, "And I thought to myself, if I get to 3-3, maybe Roger gets nervous." So he gave himself a little target, and he still remembered that there's the other guy on the other side of the net who's also nervous, who's also got a lot to play for. Rule 2, the staying curious. Curiosity drives growth. Ask better questions. As a player, you say, what if I get physically stronger? What's that going to do for my tennis? What if I show great attitude for a year? And what's a great attitude? It's actually pretty simple. Another Rafa saying, which is just brilliant, he said, "I don't understand why players have bad body language when they know for sure it doesn't work." I mean, it's just a great little simple sentence. But hey, players, body language you can control. And trust me, when you feel bad, you have to bluff it. You feel terrible inside and you want to walk around like this. But you got to walk around like this. If you can all stand up, I'm going to do something that maybe you've done it before, some of the players maybe, but just stand up please, everybody. And I want you all to stand up very, very straight, very proud and strong, and go, "I suck, I'm absolutely useless, I am the worst on the planet. Okay, now I want you to slump, get really depressed, and go, I'm so tough, I can really do this. I'm a great player. It feels weird, doesn't it? Very weird. Understand this. Okay, people talk about mental toughness all the time. It starts in the body. Stand up straight like this and you say, I suck, I'm the worst. You don't really believe it because your body is saying something totally different. If you want to be depressed and down on the court, you got to work at it. It's just so tough. Change your body language. Have a great attitude for a year and say, what happens if I keep my body language good for a year, no matter what's happening? Then what will happen? You can sit down again. Last thing. Now, we all know that training for tennis is pretty tough. There's a lot of grind. What people don't see behind the scenes, the hours in the gym, running on the track, 2-on-1s, all the tough stuff. But what happens if you just say, you know what, I've chosen the sport and I know it's tough, so why am I going to complain about it being tough? If you want to complain about it being tough, why did you choose it? Like I said at the start, it's a choice. Do not choose a tough sport and expect it to be easy. It isn't. So just say, hey, what happens if I just embrace the tough stuff and just get on with it? Yeah. Another rougher story. And this is where curiosity is so important. When he was 2 sets down against Medvedev at the Australian Open, he sat on that changeover and he said to himself, acceptance. Things are not looking good today. I'm probably not going to win. However, I'm just going to hold serve and work like hell to hold serve and see what Daniel does. And guess what happened? He just kept holding serve, and then Daniel blinked. And then he was back. Curiosity. He didn't pretend like, oh, come on, you can do this, you can do this. He understood. It's not looking good. Acceptance. Then the curiosity. But I'm just going to hold serve and see what Daniel does. There's the curiosity part. That keeps you feeling motivated. That gets you going again. Like there's something to play for, even though I'm 2 sets to love down. And you never ever know. Rule number 3, enhance your gifts. So all of you at this academy have talent. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here. But talent is a gift. You didn't have to work for your talent. It was given to you. Talent doesn't mean very much unless you enhance it. You got to choose to really work and put your talent to work and get better and better. That is a talent in itself. To keep working at getting better. When Jack was 16, I did a training camp at the NTC with him and 7 of the other best boys in the country. And as part of that, I had a one-to-one with each of them. And one of the questions I gave them was, what is your superpower? What are your 2 superpowers? And these were his two: a willingness to fight and love of the game. He was the only one who didn't mention one bit of his tennis. Everybody else was maybe like willing to fight and my forehand, or my serve and my backhand, or my footwork and my focus. But he understood even then that doing the work is just normal, and having gifts and good shots, yes, I've got to get them better. But ultimately, it's the love of the game and the willingness to keep fighting. Two mental things that were going to get him there. And for somebody who's 16 to have known that already was quite special. But remember, whatever strength you've got, it's all relative. So Martin Lee, who I coached the top 100 as well, we did a lot of work on his forehand. And I said, when we started, I said, how good's your forehand? He goes, 10 out of 10. I went, okay. How reliable is it? I went, 6 out of 10. I said, well, what we need to do for you to get top 100 is to make it more reliable. And for that, you're going to need a bit more height and spin. So he gets to the top 100, and then I said to him, how good's your forehand? And he goes, great, 9 out of 10. I said, okay, well, to get to top 50 or top 30, let's say it's a 7. He's like, what? You told me, I said, yeah, but I told you to make top 100. If you want to go higher, it's got to go up another level. So you've got to start working even harder at the shot and get it even better, because you've got to stand up to an even higher level. He struggled with that. For him, he had kind of made it. But that's okay. He had made it. Top 100 is a pretty damn good achievement. Played Davis Cup, all sorts of things, all the slams. Okay? But I think one of the reasons why he didn't go on to more was simply that he could not accept that as well as he was playing, there still needed to be more. And the formula for being a great tennis player is understanding that there always needs to be more. This kid understood this. His forehand, and I don't know the stats, but from 2 years ago, I bet he's hitting it about 10 miles an hour faster than he did 2 years ago. It's an evolution, and it's not done yet. Because if he's going to challenge the top 3 or 2, he's got to get better. And he's not thinking, 4 in the world's great. I've made it. Knowing him, he will do everything possible to get better and become a top 3 with Alcaraz and Sinner. Will he do it? Who knows? But he will go for it. And that's the important thing, is will you do it as a tennis player? Nobody knows. But just keep going for it. Yeah. Trust your instincts. Believe it or not, I used to be thin and fit. That's me in college. Trust your instincts. And real instinct whispers to you. It's the quiet voice. It's what's inside that knows what's right. Listen to it. The loud voice is not the one to listen to. It's the one that is often pride, ego, and I need to do this, I need to do that. Just sometimes be quiet and think, what do I really need to do? And listen to that voice. It hurt me really badly once not listening to it. So I got to the last round of qualifying for Wimbledon, and I had to play a guy called Drew Gitlin, who I'd beaten before in college. And I went to sleep at 10:30, and I hadn't had a drink for nearly 18 months. I was teetotal. And I couldn't sleep. And at 10 to 11, I went down to the bar to have a whiskey. Because I thought, I need to relax. I got to have a whiskey. Got to the bar and I thought, what the hell are you doing? This is Wimbledon. Can't have a drink now. That's crazy. This is nuts. So I had a cup of tea instead. At 2 in the morning, I couldn't stand it anymore. I went walking. Thought, I got to walk. I got to find a way to get tired and sleep. And I walked for about an hour, and I came back, and eventually I fell asleep at about 4 and had to get up at 8. And I felt fine on the court. Physically, a lot of adrenaline. But mentally, so spacey, and focus was really difficult. My instinct was telling me what I needed to calm down. One little whiskey would have helped me big time. But I didn't listen to it. I listened to the loud voices, you got to be tough, this is Wimbledon, you can't. Every now and again, you will get a message from your inner voice that goes against everything that maybe other people believe. But if you know it's right for you, follow it. So, hardship is a reward in itself. True resilience is pushing your physical and mental edges. That's what tennis requires. The great thing about training for any sport is learning how to push yourself really to limits, which, some people are very good. They can go to the gym and do this for themselves, but it's rare. It's very rare. But the sport will make you do that. And I remember, this is me playing at a Dutch club, the Metselaars, and they asked me to be player coach after I'd played for them for a few years. And so I was player coach for the first 3 teams, and I thought, at the start of the season, I need to get these guys in a little better shape and also just get them mentally tougher, because we had a chance to win the Premiership in Holland, the Eredivisie. And I said, okay, I'll do everything that I ask you guys to do. I was still in decent shape. So there was a stadium there, and if you ever go to that club, you'll see the Metselaar Stadium. And I said, we're going to run the stairs until somebody pukes. So we start, and we go, and we go, and we go. And we go, and we go, and we go. And then Tony van der Peterman, the youngest player, eventually hurls. And I said, well done, everybody. See you tomorrow. And I walked out there as fast as I could, straight to the toilets, and hurled my guts out. I mean, I had sick in my mouth, but I just didn't want to show them that I was in that place as well. It's a strange thing, sweet suffering. A very strange thing. It's called sweet suffering because in some way, deep down, to push yourself like that feels good. Obviously, you don't want to do it every day, but it does feel good. And it's what it requires to be able to do that to become very good. So, 5 final choices. Will you fold from criticism or analyze its validity? So, when somebody criticizes you, think, reflect. Do they have a point? Don't let your pride get in the way. Because even if somebody you don't respect, if they've got a good point, take it on board. But if you reflect and actually what they say is not valid, discard it and don't worry about it. So many people get riddled by criticism. People saying, oh, you can't do it, you can't do that, and they start to fold under the weight of criticism. Just take criticism as information, and you can learn from it or you can throw it away. Nobody's asking you to keep it. Admit when you're wrong. So I know players can get very, very stubborn, and then pride gets in the way and they will not admit when they're wrong. But that just wastes time. Admit when you're wrong, and don't just try to bluff that you're right. It's a waste of time. Play safe or be brave. Now, you're all watching tennis. Tennis has changed. You can see how brave the best players in the world are now. They defend so aggressively. They're brave. But first and foremost, you've got to get to the place where you trust your shots so that you can use them to be brave. And if you have a shot that's not good enough for you to go for it, get it better. Because it's all very well being brave if you're not competent enough and you can't actually play the shot, then bravery is almost stupidity. So it goes hand in hand. You've got to be good enough to be brave. But whatever level you're playing at, understand this: you will not make it in this game if you are not brave. And the best in the world are the bravest. And something I really admire is Novak, who is now no longer top dog, and age has caught up with him. But he has been serving and volleying and coming forward and trying to find a way to beat these young guys. It's not good enough, and my prediction is he's done. He will never win another slam. But I admire how he's tried to adjust his game and try to be brave and do something different to find a way. Number 4, quit or stay curious. If you're not curious about how good you can get, quit. Because all this is an adventure. I said it earlier. So important. Just keep being curious about how good you can get. If I keep working at my forehand, how good can I get? If I keep getting fitter and stronger, how good and how much is that going to help me? That gives you energy to keep going forward. Or are you going to be a player who pulls others down to try and feel like you're doing something better yourself? Oh, yeah, well, you know, not going that well for me, but look at her over there, look at him over there. Don't be that person. Just build. Build for yourself. See where you can go. Your journey has nothing to do with anybody else. And remember, you're in England, and you can tend to compare yourself against what's happening in England. There's a big world out there. There are people playing in China, Thailand, Serbia, all over the world. They don't even know you exist, and you don't know they exist. So don't make your journey just all about here in England. Make your journey about how good can I get? And is it going to be good enough for the rest of the world? That is a key. And talking about bravery, Michael Schumacher had more crashes in practice than any other driver. And one day they were in Barcelona practicing, and he was about 150 meters behind David Coulthard, and he went for the inside too fast and took him out and took himself out. And Coulthard was fuming, and he stormed into the garage and he was like, "You're a friggin' danger to all of us. You're going to kill somebody. You're nuts. How could you do that? You had no chance of passing me." And Michael just stood there. And he said, "David, I know 150 meters is too far now. I need to try it 125. And he said, "Are you crazy?" He said, "No, David, that's why I'm world champion and you're not." Brave, tested the limits. And finally, I'm going to tell you the white wolf story. So, Native Americans, Cherokee tribe, would train young people to be warriors. And once they had passed out and they were ready to go and fight their first battles and go hunting, they would sit around the campfire with one of the great elders, one of the great warriors of the past, and they get to ask him a question. So one of the warriors says, "How do you go into battle? I just feel like I'm so scared. I don't want to die. I just don't know how you do it, because it's just I don't know if I'm going to be good enough. I don't know if I can fight well enough to survive." And the elder said, "Every person has two wolves in their head, a white wolf and a black wolf, and they fight for control of your mind. And then it just stopped. And they're all just sitting there, and eventually one goes, "Sorry, which wolf wins?" And he says, "Whichever you feed the most." Yeah. So my final thought is this. If you had a choice, would you choose tennis again? Because if that answer is yes, you're in the right place. You don't need to become a successful pro for this sport to be good for you and to make you an exceptional person. Going through the journey of trying to be a very good tennis player already helps you become exceptional. And it's a big world out there, and you all go to school and there's lots of kids there, and some are trying other things, music, all sorts of different things. But overall, those who are trying to be exceptional at a sport or acting or poetry or whatever it is, it's actually quite rare. You kids are actually exceptional. You manage your time, you do school, and you play your tennis. And you're getting pretty good, and the results show that things are good. Be proud of yourselves, because there's thousands and thousands of kids who are not really aiming for anything. And the fact that you're aiming for something makes you exceptional. Now go feed the right wolf. the coaching team know that I usually talk longer than I'm given. So I'm not going to apologize for that. I hope it was 4% less than Roger. And lastly, I have, if you don't know, written a book called Locker Room Power. And if you would want to get one after this, I've got a few copies here. And thank you very much. And again, Jordan, well done.
Okay, thanks guys. Thanks for being patient. We've just got another 10 to 15 minutes to get through, and then you can all get your aircon conditioning cards and enjoy that.
It wasn't the comedy that I maybe expected, but.
So,
What animal